Thank you, Steve. Yves, thank you for joining me on the stage here.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
Maybe just for the benefit of the audience, you can tell us a little bit about yourself and your role and how you support the business at Michelin.
Sure. I've been at Michelin for 6 years. I'm the group CIO, and as of 2 years ago, the group CDIOs, that is, we merged IT and digital. So Michelin, you probably know this, we manufacture tires. Our business is mostly tires. We do around tires that are services, like fleet services, and beyond tires, because we are at core a chemistry company. We know about how rubber bonds to metal, and we are reselling that skills in new materials, compounds, new polymers, and that's a part where we plan to expand a lot. How do I support business? As was explained this morning, more and more business and tech, they are intertwined. So which I'm trying to make sure that I'm not a support function, but rather that Michelin realizes how deeply our performance depends on software. And one of the things I'm proud of is that as of 2 years ago, my 2 CEOs, or CEO and co-CEO, consider us as a software-driven company, which does not mean that we are a software company. We're selling a little bit of software, but it means that everything we do, our performance compared to Pirelli, Continental, is based on how good we are with software along the value chain, R&D, manufacturing, supply chain, everywhere. And that realization, probably that was there for a while, it sort of happened 2 years ago, and it makes life very interesting.
Yeah, you wouldn't think that as a tire company, software would have such a large potential impact on your business. Do you see that continuing to increase over time, or are you maximizing it just by looking at things like the supply chain?
No, it's going to increase over time tremendously. Just to give you an illustration. So we are really good with tires because we've been doing that for 130 years, and we are spending more on R&D than our competitors for decades. So the more testing, and our chemistry expertise or physical science expertise comes from learning from experiments. AI changes this totally. That is, we have to continue being the best at using machine learning to make sure that people who are doing fewer tests but that would be smarter with the technology don't disrupt us. So in R&D, it's absolutely critical. We're going to talk about sustainability. Our goal is to invent a sustainable tire. It's all about machine learning, physical simulation coupled with. So I would say AI in R&D, it's mission critical. That is, if we are not manufacturing, digital manufacturing is another big place where so much is happening. To continue on the sustainability angle, one of the key challenges of the future, so if you've never thought about that, a tire has 2 functions. It has to be strong, you have a truck on it, there is a strong part in it, and it has to rub the road, and you need friction, otherwise the car. So you need a part that is totally recycled, and you need a part which is either biosourced, neutral for the environment, and completely recycled through circular economy. And if you think about it, when you get a product from a petrochemical company, it's very stable. You know the characteristics. You have as soon as you get biosourced or mostly recycled material, it's sort of more difficult. So continuous adaptation, real-time adaptation of processes, and tire manufacturing is a process industry. You need smart AI. And just to make this a little more fun, you all know about ChatGPT, LLM, and the fact that new architecture of neural networks a couple of years ago, thanks to Google, has transformed this world. It works on any input of numbers, any time series. And if you know a little bit of manufacturing, we have machines, robots everywhere. We have flows of data. And transformer architecture are also really interesting to build those smart adaptive processes. So and I could go on. There is AI everywhere, and we have the strong belief that either we lead or somebody will make better tires than we do. To put it.
So you've shared a little bit about some of the applications and data you have. Can you give us a broader view of your application suite? How many applications? What are the critical components? How many developers do you have? Do you use a lot of off-the-shelf technology, or do you build a lot of custom tech?
Lots of questions. So the story starts a little bit like my colleague from Assa Abloy, that is, Michelin is a large company. We've been growing. We have like 2,000 apps today. We are trying to shrink this, and we're also trying to modernize as fast as we can. When I joined, I asked for the age histogram, and it was a camel with 2 humps. All the new cool stuff that everybody needed, and the old stuff that somebody would take care of later. So what I'm trying to do is back to
one camel hump.
One camel hump, yeah. That's a lot of work, but we still have a bunch of legacy systems. So it's hybrid. It's a mix. To give you some numbers, Michelin IT and digital is 4,500 people. Half internal Michelin employees, the other half are contractors. We used to be much more dependent on the outside, but we need that balance because, as you mentioned in your own book, Disrupt or Die, my goal at Michelin is to build an IT system that is continuously evolving, and this is the year to say it. I've been saying this for many years, but this is the year of ChatGPT. This is the year of OpenAI API. So this is the year, if you are not playing that game, you're really losing something. So that's what we're trying to do, but as you can guess, if you have a company with 100,000 employees and lots of legacy in all kinds of shapes, it's easier to say than to deliver. But still, so to give you an example of something cool that we're doing, we have Kafka buses running in all factories, and we are collecting all the events from the robots in one data lake after another. So there are a few things that we are doing well. And to give you an example that is still I'm very ashamed of, is we are still running some of the order to capture business process on mainframes. So working very hard to get rid of those, but it's still there. So it's a hybrid. We have some of cool stuff, and to come back, if you visit our R&D, the way we are mixing finite event simulation or physical with machine learning, that's something I am proud of. If you look at the way we run our supply chain, it's a mix and match, and some of the solutions are still old. I'm trying to convince my colleagues of something that I call exponential debt. That is, in a world that is changing so fast, as soon as you have an idea and you write it into code, if you don't touch it, its value is declining exponentially. So when you have something that has been written 30 years ago to optimize your trucks for upstream supply chain, which we do, you know it's terrible. It cannot be anything but terrible. So that's
yeah, I like that concept
challenge.
of exponential debt. That's the mainframe part of your business sounds like it. It definitely fits into that. Now you're talking about Kafka data flows and data buses. You have a lot of data that's moving around. How are you thinking about data governance, data compliance, and data security within all that?
So let's start with the governance, but the security is even more. Well, I'll start with security. Because for us, it's really important. We are a little bit like Coca-Cola. Some of the recipes, they are really who we are, and we cannot afford to lose them. So we have a Russian doll type of vision, saying there is the data you cannot share with everybody. There is the data you can share with partners, and there is the data that you should share to play in the open ecosystem. So there are pieces of our systems which are really network isolated. There are places where we're playing network segmentation with lots of, and there are places where we're using firewalls like everybody else. So, and then here we do make, we write our own software. Here we partner, with mostly buy and integrate. And here we rent, use SaaS commodity as much as we can. It works for OpenAI and large language models. On the data that we're happy to share, we are leveraging off-the-shelf solution and playing with them. And in the middle part, we're trying to have our own instance of GPT, thanks to OpenAI, and play with the API and make sure that we are not losing too much property. And on the first topic, we are wondering, probably we should grow our own LLM. We don't know what to do yet. And because, as I said, I'd rather be late than to lose my intellectual property on some of the.
Yeah,
so it's a mix.
It's a mix.
So
growing your own LLM, that's very much on-prem, very focused on preserving your current data.
Exactly. So to come back to governance, and then one of our challenges is that we are growing, maybe not with as many acquisitions, but we are growing. So we're trying to be agile in growth, which means that you want at the same time to have digital continuity. So data models that have shared semantics so that you can do end-to-end lifecycle analysis, where but also where you have pieces of the puzzle that are getting in and out. So we are putting our effort on federated data model. That is not one unique vision, but rather a small pivot core and having different views. And data meshes, which is another topic we discussed this morning. That is, if you have lots of systems producing and consuming data, either you have a centralized view, but it's slow and it's expensive, or you allow system to consume data products from one another, but you need compliance, you need data owners, you need data products. It's a step in terms of and that has been our I would say, challenge and journey for the last 3 years. So you probably have heard about the data mesh book from Zamak Degani. We're trying to implement this, and I'm not going to say that we're good at it, but I'm going to say that it's a way to be agile and distributed. So it's critical to sort out some of the compliance issues that we discussed this morning, together with automation. So, which is why I enjoyed the last presentation this morning. It fits our needs pretty well.
Now, we've partnered with you on data for application testing and also for application recovery. Tell us a little bit about how you're viewing data and automation as central or as a part of your overall strategy.
So one of the common beliefs that you explained this morning is I believe in speed, and the fact that since we cannot get things right the first time, we have to go fast. So we went into the DevOps and CI/CD journey a couple of years ago. So it's a difficult journey. It's easier on some of the newer systems and more difficult if you apply to legacy systems, but still this is where we're going. And the whole idea of data DevOps that you're promoting sort of fits pretty much very well our needs, especially because we are big and distributed. So I would say that there are two aspects. One of them is automation. And I won't say more because I think we talked about that this morning, and it was expressed very, very well. The other part is craftsmanship, that is writing software, taking good care of your pride in your code. Because if you want to share and if you want to be a partner of a larger ecosystem, you have to own what you write. It's important for us, Michelin, because as I said, I would say even 10 years ago, the belief at Michelin is we are the best with tires, we are not good with software, so we partner with the best in software. And that worked at a time where software was a support function to manufacturing tires. Now that it's so much intertwined, you cannot say we have great partners, but you cannot say I'm going to be the best in tire with somebody else knowing about my software for tire manufacturing. So that is a journey for Michelin.
Now, Yves, you've also published a book, and it's been published recently. In your book, you talk about lean software factories. Have you thought about, please tell us about what that means, and also, have you thought about lean data factories?
Yeah, that would work pretty well. So the book is about mixing three things: lean startup, really insight from customer; lean software factory, so it's really customer to code and code to customer. The lean software factory evolved from my previous job at Big Telecom at AXA, mixing DevOps, agile and lean mindset, and craftsmanship. That is, it's always the same thing. That is, if you have the processes but you don't have the passion for the product, you're going to find that you're not getting enough value. So it's a little bit about tooling and the demanding precision of crafting, but also there is the craftsmanship. That's what we are. That's what this idea captures. Since we started that journey, there was the Jez Humble and Nicole Forgreen book, Accelerate, that I think you've heard about. So Accelerate is a great book for us because when you have a couple of thousand people, you can unite everybody saying, okay, read the book, get your 4 metrics, and it's going. And that's the journey we are on, progressing. It's remember, for a couple of hundred developers, so it's a slow journey.
Fantastic. And then how would you think about applying these lean factories to data?
So there are a couple of aspects. One of them is we are realizing more and more that our data strategy, it's an open data strategy. That is, I will take what we are doing with, for instance, we are doing a lot of fleet management services, and we are doing also safer roads for cities. You know, you take all the accident statistics and the near misses statistics, and we have lots of data from our connected vehicles, and you try to help city planners decide where to spend their money on to reduce fatalities. This is a place where we started with our own data, and we found that acquiring other sources, and the more you go from I do everything on my own to I am a data platform, then the more automation is just critical. It becomes what you do. And I had a Gemba walk with that team, and they said, well, we used to be an insight factory, now we are a data platform, first and foremost. What we do is we get flow, and we enrich the data as it flows through, and then we sell it back or give it back, or depending on the business models, to our partners. And automation is critical. More and more compliance is becoming a big issue because, as I said, Michelin is large, so we're trying to get data from one part of the company, like let's say, for instance, Masternote, and reuse it in another part, which now violates GDPR. So you have to rethink about your opt-in and what can you do. So I think many of our data flows, they are perfect use case for automatic masking and these type of things. As you said, our history with Delphix was really to help our DevOps factory go faster, to get data from production, debug, return in time. But I think the B2B aspect is growing. It's a journey because you start by using data on your own business processes, and once you get smarter, you can start selling what you know to do with the data to your end customers. And when you're even smarter, you can start selling the insights so that they do their own business processes. So that journey is how we see ourselves evolving. And the more we will get there, the more we need to have a data DevOps approach to sort of.
Now, Yves, you're very passionate about ChatGPT, generative AI. How would you recommend practitioners in this room use ChatGPT? Do you have some advice, some use cases?
So, well, I will give you what we say at Michelin, but I can start by saying that obviously you should let your developer play with it in whichever form, because if you do, and I'm pretty sure they do, but it's simply amazing. That's what we were discussing.
Copilot as well, yes, Copilot as well.
I still code during the weekend, and using Copilot has changed my life, so I'm a big fan. But to step back to Michelin, we are saying we see four areas that from easy to hard. The easy one is knowledge workers. If you've not used GPT to create a PowerPoint from a word from a document, or this, you're missing something. We all know that when you do that, GPT can hallucinate. That is, if you start asking a question which is outside the realm of data that was used for the training, the answer is stupid and it's misleading. So it must be used under your control. But that's actually not that hard. So then you use it for writing code. There is one more difficulty, that maybe the fragment that you're getting has IP constraints attached to it, because open source doesn't mean that you can do whatever you want with it. So you have to be a little more careful. Then you start using it for customer dialogue. And right now we are looking at this. This is more Michelin is a careful company. We are not a .com startup, so we are extremely careful about what we say to our customers. So although we see plenty of opportunity to generate customer-facing content, we are not there yet. And the last part, which is the most important for us, is we are a knowledge-based company, mostly in engineering, but it's true also for R&D. And we've started to play with generative AI to sort, understand, reshuffle domain process data, both in R&D and in manufacturing. It works amazingly well. But remember what I said, this is the type of data which is in the first box, and I'm not ready to use GPT-4 on this. So that's more, I would say, probably 1 to 3 years down the road for us. And I think that segmentation, applies to probably most of you in the room. Your businesses are different, but you have knowledge workers, you have your own private knowledge, you're producing code, and you have customer facing. So I think that distinction sort of probably works for you as well.
Now, another one of your data assets are the Michelin guides. Maybe you can explain to the audience how does like a restaurant guide fit in with the business at Michelin?
So this is part of the crazy heritage of that company that we thought about ecosystem more than 100 years ago. So we decided that to make sure that we could sell tire, using your car should be a pleasurable experience. And it started with road signage, maps, then the guides. For those of you who do not know this, in 1920, you could write to Michelin saying, I'm going from Paris to Bordeaux. Please send me the itinerary, like Google Maps. And a lady somewhere with a typewriter would give you the detailed answer. So it's a fascinating topic, how much Michelin created services just to fit the ecosystem. And this is how the guide was born, with the other Michelin heritage of being science-based and doing things, with inspectors sort of very seriously, and there's a protocol, and this is how we do tires, this is how we ranked cooking, and sometimes there are debates about how we do this. My colleagues who run the guide business are seeing a huge opportunity in the digital world now to become more open to user-generated content and to make if you look at the iPhone app of the Michelin guide, it's starting to change. It's starting to change.
So where should we eat for dinner tonight?
We can. London, you have plenty of choices. It's one of those great cities. Yeah.
You can also ask ChatGPT to create itineraries and where you should go for dinner.
Yeah, absolutely.
But we do have a little bit of time, so let me open it up to the audience for any questions. Maybe just one, and I'll get us a little bit back on track on time.
Over there.
I'm a CIO, for example, of massive data. Where do I start, for example, with Delphix to make it a success as you have, for example, at Michelin?
So I will give you my answer, but I think Jed will give you a better answer. So for us, it really started. So we at the very down to a very, very simple set of use cases. So we were trying to automate producing test cases from production so that when you find a problem, you can come back to where you were. And so we were trying to facilitate testing and bug fixing. So simplest. And then I would say step by step and use case after use case, we expanded. Now we are looking in the data control tower because it sort of fits our needs actually pretty well, because we are definitely running under not only a multi-cloud, but we have on-prem, on edge. We have a lot of data close next to the machine in the factories. We have a private on-prem private cloud because of sensitive data that we don't want to share, and then we have a number of clouds. So we have this complexity, and the data control tower is definitely something that fits. But that's something that happened rather recently. We started using this. So Delphix was born at Michelin really as a request from the DevOps engineers saying we need better tools. And that's how it started for us. So maybe you can. I'm sure there are plenty of different stories about how people come to use Delphix.
I'll actually share an example from working with you. So I think in general you want to start with something that can be really meaningful for the business, because it's just expensive and difficult to drive change and adopt a new technology for any organization. And so when you were looking at testing and recovery, there was that one use case that became kind of the rallying point for why you needed Delphix. And it was when you had that batch process that went down and you weren't able to get the right tires on the right trucks, and it literally was stopping from shipping the right tires to the right locations. And that's a real impact to the business. I think for all companies, you have a lot of apps. You have apps that are shipping new features. You have apps that have bugs. Those bugs can impact revenue or impact your customers. Find something that's meaningful that we can go and fix with data, with fast, compliant data. And that win is what will really propagate the rest of the change that you can drive for your organization. Well, Yves, thank you so much for